It's the final showdown, the final chance for our title protagonists in the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries to stake their claim. Kenny Conomos has led all the way since the opening round, but his closest rival, Keeden McDonald, is just as hungry to take home the series title and the $5,000 that goes with it. But they're now watching over their shoulders as Kiwi Simon Bishop has thrown his hat into the ring after a strong showing last time out at Laguna Seca. And having traversed across some of the world's iconic circuits this series, we arrive in the Eifel Mountains of Germany and the famous Nurburgring for the final round. There's no second chances, no more holding back in this final fling. It's game on.
Welcome to the final round of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation 4. It all comes down to these two final races. Kenny Conomos leads the championship by only 18 points, with Keeden McDonald in second and New Zealand's Simon Bishop closing in third. Today, we will name our champion at the infamous Nurburgring. But first, let's meet our drivers.
The highlights of round 3 at Laguna Seca. Race number 1. It was a wild couple of races, to say, at the famous circuit in America. We saw some two-wide action on the opening lap of the race 1, of course. We had a reverse grid race a little bit later. Simon Bishop, in fact, was very, very strong in the early stages, making up some spots as well. But Richard Kral, we had this tremendous battle that formed between our two championship contenders in the end, which has set up this fascinating championship battle now.
Yeah, we did, Brian. Terrific stuff. I think there's a song that says I went down to Cali and I had a good time. That's what we did in round 3, didn't we? Terrific racing at Laguna Seca, but as it's been since the very start of this championship, these two drivers locked together wheel to wheel. Kenny Conomos and Keeden McDonald, the Hi-Tec car in the mix. Kenny, as always, aggressive but smoothly controlled. And then at the end, Bishop, the New Zealander, charged his way through to second place. Really, really impressive drive.
It certainly was. So it was obviously a great win for Kenny Conomos ahead of Simon Bishop. Then we had the reverse grid race, of course, our heavy hitters coming from the back. We saw a wild opening lap with almost 4 wide there as well through the opening few turns. At the end of it all, there was still more contact, believe it or not, but as they went through this race, we had Barbera off the road. We also had Simon Bishop making contact as well. Stankowski also making a trip through the weeds on the outside of the racetrack. It really was a race where you had to stay out of trouble and be consistent in order to keep your nose clean.
You said almost 4 wide there at the start. I guarantee you it was 4.5, maybe 5 wide. It was so close and competitive. Pit stops played a key role in this race. All the leaders, at least, pitted pretty much at the same time, so there was no real undercut or overcut from a strategic point of view playing out in this race. But once again, the contenders were close. Mr. Reverse Grid Racing did the business in race 2 at Laguna, but critically, Brian, one of the championship contenders had a spin at the end. Keeden McDonald turned around and for the first time in the eSeries has dropped a big margin back from Kenny Conomos.
Yep, so 18 points is the margin from first back to second. So McDonald has got a lot of ground to make up. Simon Bishop not too far away as well. He's in position number 3, just 20 points away from your championship contenders as well. We've got a great race coming up at Nurburgring.
And straight into qualifying in the Eifel Mountains, one of the most famous racetracks in the world. We're on the full Formula One layout. Now in round 3, Simon Bishop said, "Gee, I wonder what would happen if I could qualify well." Well, we're going to find out because he's qualified very well for round 4. A 53.13 puts the Shannon's car right in the mix.
Certainly was a good lap. Adrian Gassardi, of course, your pole sitter from Laguna Seca as well, coming through the final turn. His time as he crossed the line as well was a 1 minute 53.1. Not bad either as well. But of course, you get an extra championship point if you get pole position.
Yep, and that went the way of the Hi-Tec Oils car, so this is absolutely critical. 18 points going into qualifying, 17 points coming out of it. A great pole position for Keeden McDonald, and by the biggest margin of the series so far. Kenny Conomos, the championship leader from 4th. Stankowski, great qualifying performance in the Sleeping Duck car from P5. Candinolian in 6th. Dean Allen will be one to watch from 7th. Matthew Allen from 9th. Connor Healy, who was at the front at Laguna, from 10th, down to Aiden Matthews, rounding out a very racy 14-car field.
Certainly was racy as well, as we have a look at some of our drivers getting set for race number 1 here at the Nurburgring in Germany. Of course, now is the time where championship points are key. Kenny Conomos on the right-hand side of your screen there as well comes into this race. 18 points up in the championship. You get 25 points for a win. You get 20 for second. You get 15 for third. There's such a big points differential at the top of the tree as we get set to go green here. Race number 1 at the Nurburgring, and a good start by the looks for Keeden McDonald. Watch for Simon Bishop just in behind as well as they try and get that slipstream run down into turn number 1. Gossardi, though, he gets the second part of the launch really good. And look at Conomos, flies down the inside, makes a little bit of contact, but goes from 4th, possibly up to position number 2 here as they work their way through the Mercedes arena.
Yeah, that was enormous commitment and quite high risk for the championship leader, but he made it work. Now he's on the outside as they go through turn 3 and then plunge down the hill towards turn 5 and 6, the fast left, then right, that heads them down towards the hairpin at 7. So Conomos has got ground. Stankowski to 4th place, Bishop up to 2nd, and Gossardi has had a nightmare in opening laps in this E-Series. Really battled with lap 1 dramas at Laguna Seca, having qualified on pole, having qualified on the front row here. He's gone from 2nd to 5th. So the PlayStation car really struggling on the opening laps of the race. Not so for Kenny Conomos. He's got ground in all of them this year. He's 3rd. Keeden McDonald, though, crucially out in front.
Yeah, good start, wasn't it, for McDonald. Bishop still there in 2nd. Conomos in 3rd. Stankowski, he's been one of the heavy hitters on these opening few laps, up to position number 4. Gossardi back there in 5th. Candinolian in 6th as well. Jake Burton has moved up a few spots in the early portion of this race as well, in position number 8 as we ride on board with the Tri-Ace Australian Porsche of Kenny Conomos, once again coming up to the chicane part of the circuit, which is very, very tight. Tough to get right before they swing their way through the right hand of the last turn on the racetrack. But already McDonald's starting to pull away in these early stages, building a gap, building a buffer in order to try and get this race win. Keeping in mind we've got a pit stop in this race as well, and keeping tradition, it would probably be, I would say, around that half race distance, lap 5 here at the Nurburgring.
It was one of the surprises in round 3 at Laguna Seca that there wasn't as much varied pit stop strategy as we thought there might have been to try and get track position. But this track is very different characteristics to the track in California. Long, loaded, flowing corners, lots of aero, lots of downforce, and therefore higher tyre wear. It works Michelin tyre harder at this racetrack than it did at Laguna Seca. So having better rubber on at the end of the race could be more critical here than it was last time out. So I wonder if we see anyone bailing into pit lane on lap 4 or holding on and going longer, going for that overcut and stopping on lap 6. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We're on board with Adrian Gossardi in the PlayStation car. Jono Stankowski is in the mix. Kenny Conomos just in front. It's a four-way fight for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. And in fact, Candinolian is in there as well in 6th place. But Keeden McDonald, desperate for championship points, has got 10 car lengths, I reckon, out in front of this one as they work their way through lap 2.
It's been a rather conservative start so far. Drivers probably just looking after their tyres right now before maybe possibly towards the back end of this race making a lunge towards the inside and obviously making their way up through this field. So for this battle for position number 2 for Conomos at the moment, the difference in points is about 10 believe it or not, between himself and McDonald right now. And considering, of course, you had that extra championship point for McDonald during qualifying, it almost brings the points differential back to about 7 as it stands right now. So already Conomos is probably maybe sitting there going, oh, I need this spot off Simon Bishop here in order to try and give myself an extra 5 championship points, just build that little bit of a buffer heading towards the final race, which is a reverse grid race. And as we know, Richard, and we've seen so far this season, anything can happen.
Glad your abacus is working overtime, Brian. You've been keeping us up to date with the championship scores on this one. The maths a little bit too far advanced for me. Jake Burton and Matthew Allen. Well, this is a replay of the reverse grid race we saw at Laguna Seca. Matt Allen in the Fanatec car has been so good in the reverse grid races. 2 victories to his credit this season. Jake Burton, probably MVP for mine, especially in the reverse grid race at Laguna. Drove so well there, really aggressively. Spent quite a bit of time off the road, it must be said, but still got lots of positions. So good, solid performances. The Hi-Tec Batteries car is in the mix as well. But you're right, this is somewhat, not tame by far, but they're just being very consistent, very smooth, just working out how the cars and the tyre is behaving over a distance here. A very different style of racetrack to what we've seen recently in the series. Everyone's just playing the waiting game, but as we've seen so far, Brian, with this series, you can bet that when we get to lap 5, when pit stops we expect to start happening, and then towards the back end, the elbows will come out, the aggression factor will be turned up to 11, and the hip and shoulders will come thick and fast.
You say that, and that's probably exactly how it's going to pan out as well as we work our way through the final section of corners here at the moment. So McDonald just going about this race nicely, trying to look after those tyres, keeping the car straight, not overexciting those rear tyres as well, and those in behind trying to do the same as well. So for Conomos, we're almost up to the end of lap 3, starting lap 4, and that's sort of almost the portion of this race where we can start to see maybe the undercuts, possibly overcuts working late in this race as well, and who decides to roll the dice in the middle portion of this race. If anything, Stankowski will probably bring Gassani into the mix here as well in that battle for third with Conomos in front. So maybe Stankowski saved a little bit more of that tyre and is able to fight towards the end of this stint. In fact, he's right on the rear bar now of Conomos as they enter into the arena section.
So the 27-year-old from the Gold Coast currently runs in third place. He's the championship leader, and he's applying the pressure to the only international competitor in our field, Simon Bishop, the New Zealander, the Shannon's Insurance car, who's been a bit of a superstar. And as you touched on last round, Brian, his relentless consistency is what kept Bishop in the game from a championship point of view over the course of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries, with thanks to GT Sport and PlayStation. He's just been knocking out the results, but Conomos with a pretty good run out of the chicane as they run out of 6 and down the hill into turn 7. Doesn't need to get too aggressive at this point. Follow the car in front, bide your time, get yourself to that round of pit stops. Then you can start racing hard. But you're riding on board the Trias Australian car, a guy with an enormous amount of experience. He's raced in the GT Academy, which has been a fantastic program backed by PlayStation for a long time. 8th place in the 2015 finals. He was runner-up in the Asia Pacific region of the Logitech G Challenge in 2019. He's raced all around the world, the Manufacturer Series with podium finishes. He's got an enormous strike rate, and he showed that from the opening round of this particular series. Loves the development side of this and spends somewhere between 5 to 15 hours on the simulator per week. And that racecraft and that ability has really showed off. Was that a car diving off into pit lane, Brian van der Wacker? I think it might have been Simon Bishop. So, yep, it is, and a couple of others as well. So the first round of stops now starting to play out here at the Nurburgring. This is a key moment in the motor race.
Our leader as well deciding to take the opportunity to head into the pits as well. So Keeden McDonald, Simon Bishop, 1 and 2 on the road, now into pit lane. Kenny Conomos deciding to go a little bit longer here as well as we look at Jake Burton just going back out onto the racetrack now as well. He's down in 12th, but once the field shuffles themselves out, he'll be back up inside the top 10. So this is key now. This is critical. Championship points on the line. Kenny Conomos going about his strategy differently in this opening race here at the Nurburgring. Will it pay off? We saw it pay off at Laguna Seca. That 1 lap difference made such a big difference at the end of the race. And as you mentioned, Richard Krell, on a track here that is ridiculously hard sometimes on these tyres. Maybe that is going to be key towards the back end of the 10 laps here.
Yeah, and this has to be the best lap Kenny Conomos has ever driven. It needs to be line perfect, absolute precision race car driving at 11 tenths to get the most out of it and build that margin to get the overcut.
I don't know whether to push to get to hurdles or to just save the whole time.
That's Jake Burton with the running commentary that we've enjoyed for the last couple of rounds, saying, I don't know whether to push. So that's talking about, again, getting an undercut. He's already stopped, so he's not sure how hard to work the tyre to get that track position when all the pit stops are done and dusted. Here's the race leader, yet to stop, championship leader. Absolutely critical moment, perhaps, in the context of the season, because if he can beat Keeden McDonald in this race, it will go a long way to placing one hand on the eSeries trophy, the $5,000 prize money that goes with it. He dives to pit lane. We'll keep an eye out for the Hi-Tec Oils car and see how this strategy plays out.
Gee, hell is the battle here between Bishop and Stankowski as well. Looks like Bishop is going to hold around the outside here through the final turn. You don't know where to look because your race leader at the time is completing his pit stop. Where will he return in this battle? He might even be halfway through the field. So this may not have worked for Kenny Conomos. We'll wait and see as the field come down the main straight. He might just be lucky, and he will be lucky. Comes out just in front, and probably, if anything, as you mentioned, Richard, that in-lap was absolutely pristine perfect. He's come out in front of Simon Bishop, more importantly, in front of this battle pack as well. That has worked perfectly. Now with a lap fresher tyres, he's going to try and charge down your race leader.
I tell you what though, Brian, I think Kenny Conomos owns Simon Bishop a beer or two for that, because Bishop being in that fight slowed down Casati, Stankowski, Candinoli, and even Burton behind. It backed them up. Had they not been battling and squabbling for position on that lap while Kenny Conomos was sitting in pit lane, I'm certain he would have come out maybe 5th or even 6th position through that. So he owes them a favour. It's worked to his advantage. He's second. The guy chasing him in the championship leads the way. It's a compelling opening race at the Nurburgring. Part 2 coming up.
We're at a critical point in the championship, round 4, the Nurburgring, the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PS4. Keeden McDonald leading Kenny Conomos at the moment. They are our championship contenders. Conomos leading McDonald in the overall championship, but the roles are reversed at the moment in this race. So McDonald trying to claim some of those championship points back. Behind them, Simon Bishop, Adrian Gossardi, Jono Stankowski and Paul Candinolian are having a brilliant battle as well. Richard Cryle, we've got 4 laps to go. At the moment, the championship is in favour of Kenny Conomos.
It is, and a critical pit stop sequence has played to the favour of the Tri-Ace Australia driver. And as we touched on before the break, this battling for 3rd, 4th and 5th position probably helped the cause as well. Now, the interesting thing for mine, as we work our way through 7 of 10 laps here at the Nurburgring, is tyre life at the end of the race. There's a lap difference between our race leader and the car in 2nd position. Will that play a role? Will that make enough of a difference at the end of the race? Will it allow Conomos to close in on the race leader, the 22-year-old from Maitland who leads the way at the moment? That will be the big story from now. Or will this gaggle of cars behind him gang up on our championship leader and cause him some real grief? Right now, the Tri-Ace driver just needs to be eyes forward, focus on the leader, not the rearview mirror, and not this group of cars behind him.
That's exactly right, and that's easier said than done sometimes when it's all about that hand-eye coordination behind a simulator as well, and making sure that you always hit those apexes, get it 100% right, because that's what's going to be key towards the back end of this race. Jake Burton just in front here in position number 7. Not a bad run for him throughout this pit stop process either. He started outside the top 10 up to position number 7, so a good drive for him. Matthew Allen in the Fanatec Porsche just behind. Of course, he's had the last 2 reverse grid race wins, believe it or not, at Bathurst and also at Laguna Seca as well, so watch out for him in the final part of the round here at the Nurburgring. Back to our leaders though, it's McDonald leading Conomos. Conomos trying to close in this battle for position number 1, and behind them we've still got battle packs all the way through. We've got Barbera fighting Dean Allen, the battle for positions 10 and 11.
And here is the man you just mentioned, drive car, looking for a move up at the chicane, the famous bus stop chicane. Goes to the outside, quite aggressive move to get there. Looking for the over-under, the switchback into the final corner. Barbera defending hard and gets a bit of a love tap for his efforts there, and they'll be wheel to wheel going onto the start-finish straight. This is a very, very good fight. It's for 10th and 11th position. So it's the World Championship to crack the top 10 at the moment, but it shows you the intensity of the field, and Liam Tame is just in behind them in the Care A2 Plus car, sails around the outside at turn 1. Reprofiled a decade or so ago, and it's a great overtaking opportunity. And Liam's going to get up the inside of here, so through all of that squabbling, unfortunately for Dean, he's going to come out of that, well, third best, really, not even second, because he didn't get the spot he was trying to get, and then lost another one to Liam Tame in the process.
It's a good pass from Tame, wasn't it? Because he went around the outside there at the hairpin, which then got on the inside line for the left-hander, and therefore actually got the spot into position number 11. So well done there to Tame. He's going to have to get aggressive here, though, as Allen throws the nose down the inside of the right-hander, and Tame now is off the edge of the racetrack, and now, once again, reverse those positions because Allen is back in front of Tame now. So this battle, as you mentioned, the World Championship outside the top 10 is continuing. Speaking of championships, though, it is on for the race lead. Conomos has closed in on McDonald. 5 championship points the difference between first and second. This would be key if Conomos can get the job done.
Remember, came into the weekend with an 18-point championship margin. So to extend that going into the final race would be absolutely critical for Kenny Conomos. So this is the tyre war that we talked about earlier, Brian, that stopping one lap later has given the Tri-Ace car just a little bit more of an advantage as the race has gone on. So we get to the final 2 laps now. It's advantage Conomos, you'd think, but there's still the job of getting past our race leader. Keeden McDonald has been really impressive throughout this E-Series, but he feels like he has to defend at turn 1. Conomos on the ideal racing line. They'll go wheel to wheel. Brake rotors glowing on the Porsche 911 RSRs. Good drive out of 1. Through 2 and 3 now the corner. Switch back here at the Nurburgring. It's easy to cover your line, but it's also easy to get great drive out of these long loaded corners. It's the fight for the lead, and it could be the fight for the championship. Critical stuff in the closing stages of race 1 at the ring.
How's the heart rate for our leaders at the moment? You've got to feel it would be certainly up at the moment because there is so much on the line here. Conomos knows if he can get the job done, these extra points are going to be critical. Bishop isn't too far in arrears either at the moment in position number 3, so the more these 2 leaders fight, the more Bishop is going to come into the battle for position number 1. Keeping in mind, he was only 20 points away at the start of this round, 21 points possibly once you factor in the fastest lap awards and things like that as well. So he needs a couple of extra spots in the process as well, but if he could get the pair of them, boy, that certainly tightens things up for a possible 3-way fight in the championship once we get to that final race.
Yeah, and it had certainly put the pressure on Keeden McDonald for second in the points because those two were very close. Conomos, remember, had that little bit of a margin, but P2 certainly up for grabs. But yeah, as you said, with a reverse grid coming up to set the championship, to decide the title fight, it could go either way. And at the moment, Bishop will start in front of both of these two in the final race because these two will start 13th and 14th, last and second last, if they finish in this order in the final race. Speaking of finals, they're about to start the final lap of the penultimate race of this utterly compelling series. Conomos was very good at turn 1 last time round. McDonald feels like he has to defend and drives the thing on the white line at pit exit. So Conomos will swing left and get the fastest entry into turn 1. Can he go around the outside, or is he worried about opening the door to Simon Bishop? A little from column A, a little from column B, you'd think. McDonald holds on. Opportunities running out for Kenny Conomos. What a great fight for the lead.
Great fight for the lead, indeed. A great fight for the championship. Gassardi also in the mix as well in position number 4. So it's a 4-way fight for race number 1 at the Nurburgring. There's contact on the way down through the left-hander, around the outside for Conomos. He'll have the inside line now for the right-hander. Gets the job done. Change for the lead. 5 extra championship points for Kenny Conomos. He is now the new race leader with half a lap to go.
And Keeden McDonald cannot believe it. Gobbled up around the outside Extraordinary move from Conomos, the level of commitment and faith to know that you've got the grip to pull that off, but also the racecraft and the trust in your rival to know that he's going to give you racing room and not help you off the road and end you parked in a barrier. Great respect between the two of them. Terrific racing. And on the final lap, the championship leader who took the alternate strategy, he stopped later. He had a slight tyre life advantage and it's paid off massively. And now McDonald finds himself with real heat from Simon Bishop, who looks up the inside through the sweeper. McDonald will be in the right position to defend, but he might not have an opportunity here. But the story of this race is all about Kenny Conomos as McDonald runs wide. It's been an awesome drive from the championship leader. Bishop's going to get him bride. Final corner, penultimate race, change of second place.
Incredible stuff. Kenny Conomos gets the job done. A crucial 25 points in his championship quest as well. Simon Bishop in second. Keeden McDonald in the end, coming home position number 3. That's a 10-point difference from first back to third. What a race. Race number 1 at the Nurburgring. Let's listen into some of the radio chatter.
What happened at the last chicane?
Keeden went pretty deep. I had no tyres left.
Yeah, they fell off pretty bad. Good race, man.
Oh, good race indeed. Well done. Great respect. But as you mentioned, McDonald falls to third place with Conomos grabbing his third win. That's a huge drive. Gasardi fourth. Stankowski back to fifth place. They're really solid drive. Matthew Allen mid-grid for the reverse grid race. He's king of those, so watch for him to charge forward. What a drive, Charlie. The race winner is going to be elated.
Simon Bishop, congratulations. You came second in race 1 and you are now second in the championship series. How does that feel?
Hey Charlie, it's pretty good actually. I didn't think that I'd be here after some of the races I've had today, but pretty happy with that. I think Kenny's all but got it sewn up, which is a bit of a shame, but I can always have a go at him in this race, and I think I will.
And Simon, there is one race left to go. It's a reverse grid. What's going through your mind now and what do you focus on?
I've just got to try and get through the first corner, I think. The Shannon's Insurance Porsche has been pretty good, and I've actually enjoyed the reverse grid races today. I thought they'd be carnage, but they've actually been pretty good. So if I can get through there, I'll be pretty happy, and then we'll go from there.
Well, congratulations and all the best for this race too.
Thank you.
Kenny Conomos, congratulations. You are our winner of race 1. But that was an intense battle with Keeden McDonald. Talk us through it.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, that was a pretty intense race. The start was a little bit sketchy. I broke a little late and had to bomb dive a little bit, so I did a bit of a half redress, so I hope that was okay. But yeah, I just really just needed to settle into a groove, look after my tyres and fuel. I was surprised no one else went to lap 5 with me. I think that really helped at the end with tyres. You know, Keeden couldn't do too much, so big props to him as well, because we've been racing pretty clean considering how tight it is. So yeah, stoked with another win.
Well, yeah, congratulations on the race win and all the best in race 2 and with the championship.
Well, thank you.
Good to hear from our race winner there. He'll have to do the hard way because he'll come from the back. In race number 2, the reverse grid race, Aidan Matthews to start from position number 1. Halton alongside with Liam Tame in 3rd, Dean Allen, Guy Barbera the top 5 for race 2.
So Jake Burton from 8th place will be one to watch. Jono Stankowski will be good. Championship contenders 12th, 13th and 14th position. McDonald, Bishop and Conomos starting from the back. This will be great. It all comes down to this.
The 2 Aidens on pole in 2nd place. You know, send it, yeah? Got an Aiden lockout. Aiden front row lockout. I was just saying that. Yes. No, let's not jump the start.
Yeah, good advice. Don't jump the start, because that's what happened in race 1 and was penalised for it, Guy Barbera. Away we go. The Nurburgring, the scene of the finale for this compelling Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries. We're underway. $5,000 up for grabs for the champion. They're right at the back of the field, Kenny Conomos. The fight's on for 2nd in the standings. We'll bring you up to speed on points in a second as well. Great start. Aidan Matthews out in front. Adrian Holton Aidan Holton it is, so it is the two Aidens, 1 and 2. He's second. Liam Tame third. Dean Allen fourth place as they head towards turn number 3.
So looking at our championship contenders already, Conomos, Bishop, Stankowski, all back there towards the rear of the field. Remember, 25 championship points up for grabs for a race win here. 20 for second, 15 for third, as Barbera here trying to find his way deep in this field. He's 6 at the moment. He's got Jake Burton around him as well in position number 7. Matthew Allen a little bit further back as well. In fact, speaking of that, Burton looks like he's going to have the inside line here down into the hairpin as we continue to watch Barbera. Burton as well, just in arrears. They're still side by side. Burton will get the spot, and unfortunately, some going back towards the rear of the field, but more importantly there for Burton, making his way up through the field, trying to do what he can in this reverse grid race.
Now we'll let this opening lap settle down, Brian, and you've had the calculator out. There's smoke pouring off it because you've been working out the calculations for not only the championship, but it turns out P2 is up for grabs as well. So the field's still settling themselves down, getting tyres up to temperature, getting brains engaged and sorting it out. Aidan Matthews disappearing up the road in the race lead. Aidan Holton struggling to go with him at the moment. Liam Tane in third place. Here's the big send. Matthew Allen, who's won a couple of reverse grid races in this series, trying to go up the inside of Jake Burton. Couldn't get it done at the chicane. The Fire Safe car holds on to P6 in this race. Big moment up in front. What's going on there? 3 wide at the final corner. Holton, Healy, Allen, all in the mix. Burton too. They're 2 by 2. The weather's perfect, but it's Noah's Ark style as they run down into turn 1. Check this fight out, Brian. This is extraordinary stuff.
It's great, isn't it? And this is exactly what we've come to expect from these reverse grid races. Just carnage, chaos and calamity, I guess you would say. We're only on the lap 2 of 10 here at the moment. So much to play out as Burton continuing. He's been side by side with, I think, everyone on this opening lap for pretty well the whole lap as well as we ride on board the Hyperdrive Porsche with Dean Allen here at the moment. Allen so far in position number 4. He's got Connor Healy in front of him. And look at this, it's a freight train, isn't it? From first all the way. In fact, first is the long way through. Liam Tame is the one that's holding the field up at the moment in position 2.
Yeah, well, but Liam's the big winner out of that. He's got a couple of spots. Great job for the 20-year-old from Greystanes in Sydney. Outstanding job. He's a Supercars official for one of the great Motorsport Australia volunteers who support our sport so well from Steel City there at Newcastle. Terrific job to hold on to P2. But while that's been going on, and we're literally looking at a 10-car battle for second place at the moment, Brian, Aidan Matthews has just vanished. He could be on the Nordschleife for all we know, because he's certainly not in this shot on the Grand Prix circuit here at the Nurburgring. It has allowed the race leader to get an enormous margin for the lead while everyone else is going up. Look at it. Check it out. It's probably 5 seconds already.
Remarkable, isn't it? We haven't seen a margin like this so far throughout the whole entire series. So to see this at the moment is quite remarkable. It just shows you the fierce competition at the moment that's going on for second all the way through the rest of the field as Burton goes, well, he went over the top of the ripple strip there, comes back on the racetrack and actually holds on to that spot there for a moment. So you can take every single line you possibly want there through the chicane section and try and hold on to your spot there as well. So Tame, Healy, Allen, 2, 3 and 4 on the racetrack. We ride on board again here with Allen as they head down into the opening part of the racetrack here. This tight, very, very tight right-hand hairpin where the car gets unloaded there through the bump there on the road. It's tough to get right, particularly once the tyres start going away on these cars as well. So early stages in this race. Let's have a little bit of a listen here.
To be honest, I think it's a bit of a bomb or B-bomb. Like, into there. Like, I feel like both times I was bombed into there, it's by people who were worried about getting past themselves.
Yeah, interesting comment from Jake Burton, just once again doing some analysis for us of other people racing around him, which is terrific stuff. He's running P5 at the moment. We're watching the battle between Liam Tame, Connor Healy and Dean Allen. There's the green and black car at the back of this queue. It was Adrian Hulton who copped the wrong end of the stick there, Brian, with that move we saw at the chicane. He got hip and shouldered off wide as the Hi-Tec Batteries car weaves right and then left and trying to find his way. Allen's going to gobble the both of them up here if they're not careful. It's Connor Healy who's in the thick of this action, and Liam Tame, a bit of a roadblock at the moment. The Care A2 Plus car keeping these behind. He's perfectly entitled to do so. They've got to work their way past. He's not overtly defending. He's not driving the car on the white line. He's not making moves to block his position, at least not yet anyway. So it's up to the cars behind to try and find a pass up the hill to the chicane, and that's exactly what the Hi-Tec car is going to do down the inside. Although he can't get there. But Tame's got it wrong. He ran wide. He went too deep into the chicane, understeered off, hit the curb, and he's going to get gobbled up at least by one, if not more. As we watch Connor Healy at work, change of position. He's second, Tame back to third. Gets good drive out of the final corner. Meanwhile, you throw a blanket, a Nurburgring sized blanket, over the rest of the field. And Liam's going to get this spot back if he's good under brakes down at turn one. What a terrific scrap.
It's great, isn't it? Tame's made this part of the racetrack his own. As I say that, no, he hasn't, because he's just run wide and overcooked it there and lost a spot in that process as well. So Alan is on his outside now, though he's going to try the switch back, the undercut here. The inside line wasn't quite there for him. They both ran very, very deep. In fact, now Alan has lost out in the process as well. You don't know where to look, as Keeden McDonald is making his way through this field, which is crucial for championship points. We're right on board the Shannon's Insurance Porsche with Simon Bishop. We're watching McDonald sideways in front. Burton right underneath the rear wing here at the moment is Bishop as well. Now Bishop's actually going to get the reward here and get a spot on Keeden McDonald. Now why this is important is because there's only one championship point that separates them both for second. Now, whoever finishes in front basically of each other, that being Bishop and McDonald, will get that second spot in this championship battle.
And we're focusing on that fight for second, because basically for either of those two drivers to win the title, they would need Kenny Conomos to have a really serious issue, like a disconnect or a DNF. He has got this in the box seat and just needs to finish this race and score even 1 point, and the championship will go the way the man that has been at the pointy end since round one. But as we've seen in this fight, it really could go any way. Look at Bishop getting up the inside there. What a drive this is from Simon in the Shannon's car, the New Zealander, charging his way through the field. He's going to get up the inside of Liam Tame, who once again shortcuts the chicane here. It's going to cost him momentum coming out. Bishop dives into pit lane. Interesting, stopping early. Wants to get himself out of this fight, get some clear racetrack and try and get the undercut. But it was really interesting to hear from Kenny Conomos after race one here. He was surprised no one followed him to lap 5, to the end of lap 5, start of lap 6 to make the stop, because he said it made a significant difference at the end of the race for his tyre life. That's why we saw him catch up to his long-time championship rival and ultimately pass him for the race win. So he was very surprised that no one went longer. Certainly, at this point, it hasn't looked like anyone's learnt their lesson in this race either.
Just having a look at the drivers, they're coming out of the pits. I think maybe, possibly, Bishop was lost out to Candinoli and in amongst that fight there as well, but more importantly, still in front of Keeden McDonald, who's fighting here with Adrian Gossardi, positions 12 and 13 as it stands at the moment. Of course, they are the drivers that have completed their compulsory pit stop at the moment. We haven't spoken about Matthews out in front, has he? Because he has long gone out in front. He's got such a margin that I think once he actually completes his compulsory pit stop, he'll probably still come back out in the race lead, even if those in behind don't even make their pit stop.
So the 17-year-old from Deniliquin in country New South Wales. It's Ute Muster part of the world. He's a top split driver in the Oceania group here. His gamer ID, Brian, is Captain Risky 21. But there's been zero risk in this race because he's had nothing to worry about. Everyone else is carving each other up, and he's just got a massive margin for the race lead. He can dictate pit strategy. He can race the way he wants to race. This is no risk racing for Aiden Matthews out in front.
Speaking of risk, Kenny Conomos, position number 4 at the moment. He's looking towards the inside here of Tame. Tame, is he going to let him go here? Probably knows what's up for grabs, and indeed he does, so makes it easy there for Kenny Conomos. Knows there's a championship up for grabs, doesn't want to get involved in it either, and a good spot there made from Conomos as now he completes his compulsory pit stop, along with pretty well the rest of the field too.
Yeah, so really good stint from Liam Tame. Good job from him in the opening stint of this race to run second early on and fight hard for that battle. Race win at the moment probably out of the question given the margin that Matthews has got, but he dives in. Conomos followed him into pit lane as the gaggle of cars goes past. These guys have come out, but I feel like they're going to lose quite a bit of track position through this year. They are. Conomos right into the thick of the action. He's going to be behind Keeden McDonald, behind Adrian Gossardi, who's in this mix, and Guy Barbera as well, perhaps. Oh no, he's just got out in front of Barbera, so that's one positive. So running longer probably hasn't helped the cause quite so much in this race, but they were buried down the field anyway. And for Liam Payne, who was very, very difficult to pass in the opening stages, the alternate strategy hasn't worked for him. It has worked for the other drivers around him, though. It's a compelling fight. It's the final race in the series. We're halfway through. We find out who wins the championship right after this.
It's the final part of Season 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PS4. The Nurburgring is our location for the final round of the championship. At the moment, Aidan Matthews leads the way. The way the championship is sorting itself out is we've got a tremendous battle for position number 2 between Simon Bishop and also the man who is trying to hold on to second, Keeden McDonald, but the way that it stands at the moment, Simon Bishop is going to jump him into position number 2 once it all shakes itself out. Bishop here on the outside searching for position number 2 on the road at the moment, but Richard Crowell, you've got to give it to Aidan Matthews right now. He's driven a brilliant race so far.
Yeah, you know you're dominant, Brian, when you get zero coverage because you're so far out in front that the cameras are busy looking everywhere else, and that's what's happened in this race. Really impressive stuff. Helped on that opening stanza of the race, the first 2 laps where everyone was carving each other up, and he just built a massive margin, but he's going to complete this race without losing a lap of the lead. Bishop looks down the inside, wild stuff with Connor Healy.
It's just Conzio being Conzio again and just costing everyone time.
More from Jake Burton, who's watching this fight. Oh, the Shannon's car looks down the inside, big sideways moment. More great door-to-door racing. Candonolian's in the mix as well, and Burton, who's provided us with some terrific running commentary for the last couple of rounds, has got the box seat for this. The 4th car in the queue. Beautiful orange, blue and white liveried entry. This is a good battle though, and Bishop has got great track position over his closest championship rival, Keeden McDonald. Kenny Conomos, champion-elect at the moment, in 10th position, setting to score some good points in this one and wrap the title up with a conservative drive.
Done a good job so far, hasn't he, as we ride on board with Candonolian here in the KO Sports Porsche. So far in position number 4, Simon Bishop in front of him, still trying to find a way past here. Connor Healy in front of him in position number 2. Again, you've got to say that Healy's probably trying to make that Porsche as wide as he possibly can right now, because Bishop hasn't been able to find a way past. Again, shows the nose, maybe a little bit of contact. Here comes Candonolian as well with a great run on the pair of them. Is he going to try and go around the outside here through the fast right-hander and make it 3 wide? Here comes Burton 2, side by side, up to the chicane.
Cracking fight, as it always has been, and he goes KO and dives up the inside. Oh, Candonolian couldn't quite get through. It's going to cost him a spot. Burton goes past. So Burton ultimately grabs the spot there. I thought Candonolian was going to grab the lot of them through that exchange, but terrific job by Jake Burton in the fire safe car. He dives through and moves himself to 4th.
Noodle's such a nice guy. He just loves NFL and stuff. But don't hit him, please.
He said he's such a nice guy. Not often a bit of positive feedback you get. Often it's a bit more tense than that in these races. I love that. Terrific stuff. Meanwhile, Connor Healy's holding on. Simon Bishop, I love the way he gets into a corner, Brian. He just gets the nose there and forces the car in front to open the door. There it is. So a little bit of contact that time. It was a bit more aggressive than what I was talking about the lap before, and he finally gets through. But it was really aggressive driving from the Shannon's car and finally gets that spot away. We'll see if he can now pull a margin and lock in second place. The full knowledge that his closest title rival, Keeden McDonald, is back down in 7th.
Again, consistency for Simon Bishop is just remarkable so far this season. Leading into this race, he's only finished outside the top 5 once, believe it or not, and that was back at Spa. So he's continuing on that great run of form. The run of form that may well just see him finish in position 2 in this championship. We ride back on board now with Jake Burton working on the rear bar here of Connor Healy up through the top section of the racetrack. Healy with a slight mistake here. Burton not quite anywhere to go there. Unfortunately got stuck underneath the rear wing once again. So if anything now, Healy is holding up Burton, Candonolian, Dean Allen in behind, as well as now Burton throws it down the inside. A little bit of side-to-side contact, and unfortunately for Healy, he's really going to lose out here.
Yeah, there was some frustration from these cars getting caught up behind the Hi-Tec batteries entry for the last couple of laps, and that was just an aggressive move from Burton. but he got down the inside and the contact was wheel to wheel, square on. So I don't think there's much in that. Really aggressive stuff. Gets Jake up to third place. He's been super impressive guy with a lot of real world racing experience. In fact, he's driven a supercar at Winton for Brad Jones Racing. So he knows his way around a race seat and steering wheel and pedals and everything that goes with it. Here's Keeden McDonald, the two Hi-Tec drivers looking to exchange positions. Well, I wonder how Keeden will be feeling. It's been such a racy series. Conomos in the back of the shot as well, the champion-elect. But Keeden, who was at one point held the championship lead by a couple of points narrowly and has been within just a few of the Tri-Ace driver all the way through. In fact, Conomos goes past the Hi-Tec Batteries car as well. I think Connor Healy's tyres have gone off the cliff in this one with 2 laps to go. But you'd have to feel a little bit of frustration perhaps from McDonald, Brian, because he's been at the front for so long in this series, and all it took was one moment, and it was that moment at Laguna Seca I was talking about, the final corner, final lap of the race, where he ended up backwards. Ultimately, that's probably cost him a shot at not only the championship, but P2 in the championship as well.
Yeah, you're 100% right, bang on. It's those little small moments, isn't it, that make such a big difference over the course of a championship. So he's fighting at the moment in position number 6. Could have been higher if he could make his way up through in those early portions of the race with everyone squabbling as well. But at the moment, not too bad there in position number 6, because that's been key, hasn't it, in these reverse grid races, trying to stay out of trouble and keep your nose clean, because that's been so difficult at certain points throughout the season. Keeping in mind, Kenny Conomos got caught up in an incident at Spa during the reverse grid race as well, coming out of the final turn. So it could happen to anyone at any possible time, but at the moment, with near enough to a lap and a half to go, you've got to say that Conomos is doing a good job though in position number 7, keeping it clean, staying out of trouble, and still in front. We've got cars looking left, right and centre, and in fact that's McDonald that's gone around. Conomos gets by him, and if it wasn't already frustration for Keeden McDonald, it certainly is now.
Yeah, well, that sums it up, doesn't it? His run to the flag in this championship, so competitive, so good, but ultimately ends up spinning, and he's going to finish a long way down the order in this one. There was a bit going on there. You said squabble. I think it was a full-on tantrum at the start of this race. Such was the competitive intent for the field, running from second all the way down to the back of the field. So finally, Candid Olean's got himself to third in this. I thought he was going to be there about 5 laps ago, but it's just taken the KO Sports car a little bit longer to get to position. Surprise, surprise, Jake Burton's punching on with someone. He's going wheel to wheel. He spent most of this eSeries side by side with somebody. This time it's Dean Allen. They're fighting for 4th and 5th position. And as a sign of a champion's drive, look who's in P6 in this race, Brian, from the back of the field, without actually seeing too much of him in this game. And we're talking about Kenny Conomos. He's going to win the championship. He's going to be 6th in this race, if not better. It's been an outstanding performance. Speaking of outstanding performances, how's the drive from Aidan Matthews here out in front, home and hose right now as he works his way through the final section of quarters. He's got such a big margin here. He's led this race from start to finish, has not put a foot wrong, and it was really in those opening few laps where he was able to build that margin, build a gap, and now he's just been able to look after the car, look after the tyres, and this is going to reward him with a race win. Predictably, this battle's still continuing, as if it wasn't. This is going to go right to the line here, and a bit of Morse code from the back of Dean Allen to Jake Burton. This just sums up the entire series of 4 magic rounds, 8 great races. It's been such a joy to watch as Allen looks to the inside. Conomos feels like he can grab a couple more spots here. You bet he can. Does he get them both? He tried to. He's going to go to the outside. Aidan Matthews has absolutely smoked them at the Nurburgring. The champion is going to go around the outside. He might not get the spot in the end. Well, he's going to get Burton. Kenny Conomos will win the championship with a racy drive. He's going to get P5 at the line. What a drive through the field for Kenny Conomos. He's the champion of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries. Season 3 goes the way of the Tri-Ace driver.
Congrats, Kenny, on the win, mate.
Well done, Kenny. Well done, Aidan.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Really good racing.
Very good occasion.
Well done, Kenny. Congrats, mate.
So we're going to buy something now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kenny was telling me that he was going to buy all of us here up to the value of $4,999.
Each.
That's great banner, isn't it, Brian? Terrific stuff. But Aidan Matthews, take nothing away from the GT Sport driver. A terrific win, his first of the series. Bishop and Cannon all in on the podium. But there's your champion, P5 from the back of the field.
Yeah, incredible performance, wasn't it, as we turn over the page. Adrian Gossardi, position number 8. Connor Healy in 9th. Jono Stankowski completing the top 10. Let's catch up, though, with Charlie Bullis, who's with our race winner.
So we are here with our Race 2 winner, Aidan Matthews. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was really good to finally get a win after kind of puttering around at the back all series. But no, it was a good race. Kind of got lucky with the pole after coming last in the first race. But yeah, we just got the jump on the other Aiden, and kind of they battled behind me, and I just stuck to my guns and drove away. I heard Keeden say that Kenny did a five lap stint, so I kind of tried to do that, and it worked. So yeah, pretty happy.
Oh, congratulations again. And I'm here with our round 4 winner, Simon Bishop. Simon, congratulations. That was quite a race.
Yeah, it was something, wasn't it? The Shannon's Porsche was hooked up, so I started at the back with Kenny, and I thought, well, may as well throw caution to the wind. And it all kind of lined up for me, but some of the battles I had were pretty awesome. It should make for some good watching, I hope.
Thank you so much, Simon. We have loved having you.
Awesome, thank you.
So at the end of it all, Kenny Conomos is your champion. 135 points, 15 points the difference. Simon Bishop in position number 2 is able to get by Keeden McDonald there in the closing stages. And as you said, Richard, what could have been for Keeden McDonald if it wasn't for a couple of slight mistakes?
Yeah, but I think a key factor is so many of these drivers had great results. It's been an awesome series. Let's go to Charlie. She's talking to the champ.
Kenny Conomos, you are the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries champion. Congratulations.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, what to say? I mean, it was an awesome 4 rounds. Very tense, very good racing. So thank you to all the competitors. It really showcases how strong our region is now, how far we've kind of come. I honestly wasn't too confident coming in, so really stoked and surprised to come away with the win. And yeah, just want to say a big thank you to Speedweek and Hi-Tec Oil, Tri-S Tyres for sponsoring the car, and also my team Altus Esports and Next Level Racing who support me. So big thank you to everyone. You all sound like you're having a very good time there. Wish I was there to celebrate it with you guys.
Well, there is $5,000 on its way to you, and Taylor from Hi-Tec Oils has your trophy.
Awesome.
So here, all from us, a massive, massive congratulations.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Well, massive round of applause, Brian van der Wacker, to this guy. It's been a consummately professional performance from race 1 to the final race of the series.
3 race wins in total for Kenny Conomos this season. It's been a tremendous drive. You got the championship win from Simon Bishop, who's been very consistent so far, and of course to complete the season as well. It's been a tremendous season. Looking forward to the next one. Charlie, back to you.
And there you have it. That was season 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek eSeries. We've had some amazing racing and we've had such a great time. We'd like to thank you, all of our drivers, and to our sponsors, and of course, Hi-Tec Oils. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.